What I found with transmedia and documentary is that the documentary makers that I work with, they immediately do more meaningful stuff in the digital realm than I found other people. And I've been trying to figure out just why that is, and I think one of the elements is when you're working across media, is that you usually get to a point of, rather than thinking about, oh, this content can continue, at this point, or we can zero in on this character and then move them over here, that you think more high level in terms of the overall message or the thematic. What's the core of actually what is going on and what's the emotion. And I think that because although documentaries are they are orchestrated, there is a hands-off, and there's more of an understanding of the core essence of what's going on, and oftentimes that emerges. And so that sort of philosophy follows through to the other medium. It's like that essence is automatically there, and so the top-down, using that top-down approach as opposed to bottom-up, I find is more effective. And so I see some really interesting digital extensions, if you like, or digital components of documentary works that are a lot more meaningful than some similar ones in the narrative storytelling realm. I think it's a combination of understanding the core of it and giving it enough freedom, and that sort of combination means that wonderful stuff can happen in another platform. Yeah. And it depends on your rollout, whether you will be doing a simultaneous rollout, like everything will be available at once together, or whether it will be sequential in sense of, we'll start with a digital, then we'll go to broadcast, and then we'll go back to digital, for instance, or parallel. You have them both available, but the digital is available before the broadcast, and so that affects the cycle and how it works. With digital, things can happen a lot faster. It depends. I mean, if you're creating a game, for instance, or quite an intense game, then that can parallel the length of development and production on an actual documentary. So it depends on the nature of the actual media that you're using. Oftentimes you're actually having to bring in people, obviously, to help develop and execute the project. And I think it's important to try and find, although it sounds like common sense, but it rarely happens, that you find people that are actually at the same level as you and that have the same creative interests. Just as the same sort of criteria that you use for working with your own team. It's, let's say, in your primary medium, if you like. Treat the people that you're bringing in who will be working on these other media in the same way, because I've seen so many times when people sort of select practitioners to execute an element in another media platform, and because they didn't really care about the media platform, they didn't really care about whether or not the people are that experienced or whether they share the same creative goals. So I think, these are all aspects of facilitating a good collaboration, I guess, in the end. Yeah. Budget. So there's all these all these fine elements, you know, all these different roles and all these budget lines for the film, if you like, or the broadcast, and then there's, you know, one line for the transmedia. It's just the same as anything else. It needs to be broken down, you know. So you'd have, if let's say you have a transmedia producer, or your own producer is taking on that role of a transmedia producer, but they're obviously, you know, they're needing to bring in people in there. So you still have the same thing of, you know, you might have another project manager, you might have designers in there, the creation of new assets. There might be, you might need to buy or hire other equipment for the other elements, hosting costs. You know, it does break down, and it's, you know, it's often, let's say, I mean, you can always get away with less, but it's often, let's say, 50,000 upwards, you know. Yeah, in terms of a budget item there.